folks. Good morning, good afternoon. You are very welcome to Bandido Talks. We are back with another special guest interview episode. We are joined by none other than Mr. Stevey J. It is a pleasure to have Stevey on Bandido Talks. Stevey, sir, how are you keeping?
Very good, Matthew. Very good, and thank you very much for having me on Bandido Talks.
It is
It's
a
a joy to be
pleasure,
on here
Stevey.
to share with
It
the
is a
audience.
pleasure. We have had
Thank
a
you, sir.
few little audio difficulties.
Yeah,
On my end, of course, the Bandido has had to try and get some of his settings just right for Zoom, but I think we are working. You're coming through on my monitor just fine, which is good.
yeah.
We need to make sure everything is recording just fine. But anyway,
Well,
really
that
excited
is
about this
yeah.
morning show. We're actually recording in the morning time, and as I had said to you just off camera, really interesting from my perspective, just to see where the conversation is going to take us. Now, just to set the scene, Stevie, you have recently been out in Cyprus. You've been holding an event out in Cyprus. Give our audience a little bit of background. What were you doing out in Cyprus? What was the nature of the event?
Well, for this last 20 years, Matthew, we've been helping people to get results in all different areas of their lives. We've been running like one-day events, weekends called Living Your Epic Adventure for a long time. Lots of seminars in different places across Ireland and in different parts of the world at times. And really, it's to help people to win at the things that they want to win at in their own lives. So it is, and that could vary. Um, for this last long time, I've been teaching and sharing with people how to win, which is the science of achievement. Um, how to take care of your emotional well-being, your energy, direct your energy where you want to direct your energy towards, and also how to be more fulfilled in life. So we've been sharing all those things when we were away in Cyprus. It was like an extended version of what we actually do at home in Armagh in New California. So it was a really good time, and there was lots of great things happened, and we're looking forward to wonderful things happening in the future as well too, because it was a good foundation set up for great results to come in the future. So
Fantastic.
that's what we're
Very
doing.
good
That's what
indeed.
we're doing out in Cyprus.
Excellent. Very good. And what was the motivation for actually going to Cyprus? Is there something about Cyprus in particular that made it a particularly suitable location for what it was that you were doing?
Well, I suppose it's we've been doing this here. You can do this anywhere, obviously, if you know what I mean. Like I've been doing it for a long time. Typically, we would usually do this over like a long weekend, so it could be like 30 hours over a weekend, which can be quite intense, but it's very, very good. And we found that people have been getting phenomenal results down through the years. So we done an extended version of it, and I thought it'd be good for people to get a bit of vitamin D3 and a bit of sunshine. Particularly, there've been a lot of business owners there that would be, working a lot, working very hard, and obviously the stresses and things that come with that. And it's always very important whenever you're looking out again to resetting your goals and your dreams and that there, that you come back to base. So it's important to relax and to reset and to unwind. So I thought that Cyprus would be the perfect place this time of year, because about 22, 24 degrees, the sea's nice and warm. You can relax there. You've got in the morning time, about 7:30 in the morning, the sun is warm, and we could forget about time, let people decompress, get them to relax, and then when they're ready and refreshed, then get back onto the plans and moving forward and setting forward what we're doing for the future. So it was ideal for that as well too, because most things were taken care of, like the food and things like that were taken care of as well. So people hadn't to worry or think about those things. Also, a great opportunity to be able to set away your phone, put away your phone. I find that the phone is a very valuable tool. So it is in today's modern society, but it can also be a pain in the arse because it can get in your way. It can create what's known as goldfish brain. So it can, and it can prevent people from being able to think deep. It's really important when you're thinking about your life and your life plans that you can allow yourself to go that bit deeper. And oftentimes, people's minds are just reacting to what's going on in their lives and their environments rather than thinking a little bit further. So we took a week out, took that time out so we could think deeper, think further, think better, and also get better results.
Super. Really good. I love that idea. I actually love the idea, Stevie, of changing up your environment, because Sometimes when you're in the same environment all day, every week, sometimes you can slip into autopilot. And sometimes just taking yourself off to a different location with a different climate and
Yeah.
then decompressing a little, getting rid of the phone to a certain extent, it sort of refreshes the system. It almost gives the
Yeah.
system an update.
100%. Yeah. It works. It worked really well. So it did. Everybody was very happy.
Excellent. Super. Really good. Love that. Now, for someone like myself, Stevie, as I was saying to you off camera, I'm actually not a businessman whatsoever. Surprise, surprise, the Bandido's not a businessman. And so when it comes to the world of business, I'm very interested to get speaking with people who have been there and done it. Not just been there and done it, but are actually actively helping other people to help them realize their own goals and to get them moving through the gears and up through the levels. Now, in order for someone to do that, it's like anything, Stevie. You need to know the basics. You need to know the fundamentals of anything so that you can build and go a little bit further and a little bit further and move through those gears. So when it comes to business, Stevie, let us just take a few moments to start laying out what are, from your own perspective, the fundamentals or the principles of business.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So first thing I'd say, Matthew, you're in business. I'd say that we're all in business, and business is just an extended way of being able to serve someone. So I would say somebody might be in the in the business of being at home and looking after the children and making sure the family's all going well. And somebody else might have their own business set up, and somebody else might be in the business of helping somebody else in their business. If you know what I mean, they might have a job or a role or a career. And it's really for everyone to first know is we're all in business, and we're in the business of life, and in some way we're giving back, and in some way we're serving. And the first fundamental that I would come to with business is a business should be an extended way of providing more value, services, and products to people that benefit their lives, and that would be the first principle in business. Then when you get into the actual structure of business itself, I suppose if you think like a car mechanic, the car mechanic knows about the engine, he knows about the wheels, he knows about the gear stick, the clutch, he knows about all the different details that there are there in the car. And oftentimes when people get into business, they don't actually know those different details that are in the business. And that's why you have a statistic like 95 businesses after the first 5 years are closed. 50% of businesses close within the first 2 years, is because oftentimes people get an idea, they get excited about that idea, but they mightn't get into the calculations and the numbers. So if you're going to get into business, it has to have two things. One, it has to have a mission that's going to serve beyond the people in that business, a mission that's going to provide better products, better value, and better services for people. And that's the first thing. And then the second thing is you got to know your numbers. You got to count. So you got to know what them numbers are. And if you can count money, you should be pretty much all right in that situation. But then, just like the mechanic says, I like to break it down into 7 components. And I call these the 7 levers of business. Oftentimes people call them the 7 pillars. The reason I call them the 7 levers rather than the 7 pillars is because with levers, just like levers in a digger, you can move the levers. Do you know what I mean? Whereas with pillars, there's a little bit more work in moving pillars than there is in moving levers. So the first lever I would say is marketing. Marketing is the first lever. And sometimes people say to me, "Oh, I don't know anything about marketing." And I'd say, well, you do. You know how to talk. You know how to write. You know how to have a conversation. And the very first thing about marketing that you need to know is marketing is a conversation. So if you have a business and you're not going to promote that business, well, as the more conversations there is about that, then the easier it is to promote it. The more conversation there is about such a good product and such a good service that you provide and the value that you provide in that, then the easier it is. And all marketing is basically an extension of a conversation. So if it's a flyer, it's an extension of that conversation. If it's a video, it's an extension of that conversation. If it's a billboard, it's an extension of that conversation, so on and so forth. Whatever it is know that marketing is simple, and marketing very basically is a conversation. In the beginning, in the early days, marketing, and the second lever, which is sales, is actually the lifeblood of your business. You need to have marketing, you need to have sales in order to have numbers coming in, money coming in to sustain it and to provide those products and services at a reasonable price. So sales becomes really, really important. In our time in Curves, we were introduced to, it was a very, very, very good sales strategy. It was a fantastic mission, because the mission was to help the lady of the house become healthier, fitter and more well, and therefore that would help the different members of the family become healthier, fitter and more well. And it was only like for about £35 a month at that time. But there was a fantastic sales strategy because it had a fantastic mission. And the sales, well, we would have maybe ended out about 9.5 sales out of 10, believe it or not. But there was a process to that. And every sales should have a process. There should be a process that makes it easier for the customer, so the customer understands what the products and the services are. They understand how to buy them. They understand the value with them as well too. So sales would be the second lever in business. So after you market and after you sell and you win a customer, then you've got to provide that product or that service. So it comes into operations stroke delivery, and operations stroke delivery is the third lever. And operations stroke delivery is basically where all the magic happens. That's where you get to deliver the service, the product, to the person. And I always say to people, look, write out your operations stroke delivery, write it out from the beginning to the end. Because when you write it out from the beginning to the end in your operations stroke delivery, you'll see different areas of improvement. And really, everything in winning in life and getting better in life really is having that focus on improvement, what we call Kaizen. Kaizen is never-ending improvement, never-ending improvement. So when you look through your operations stroke delivery and you see, here's where I could actually provide a better service or product, here's where we could do it in a more timely manner, here's where it could work better for the person, here's where it would be more fun for them, maybe give a different colour, whatever it would be, and you go through that there, and you're ensuring that you're providing your customers with the best possible delivery through improving your operations. Now, when your business begins to expand, it's going to be very important. It's not just yourself, and you have what's a team. And the more things that need to be done with the business, then the more of a team that you're going to have. And the acronym for team that we would use is team is together everyone achieves more. Together everyone achieves more. We do a wee sing song, together everyone achieves more, like an American thing, And it really is true. It's the same as many hands make light work. So it does, if you've got a little bit of help with something, it can make it work easier. But then you always have the situation where you have team members complaining about the people that they work for. And then you have a situation where you have people complaining about the team members that they're working for, and bosses complaining about people in teams. And this becomes the greatest challenge, so it does. So when it comes down to the line of team, there's some things that are very important. One of them is disc profile. Disc profile, D-I-S-C, disc profile, ensuring that you are hiring the right people for the right job. There are certain people that do really, really good things. Like for example, if you said to me, Matthew, Stevie, there's a big pot of gold on the top of this mountain somewhere in Ireland, and it's far away, and I need you to go there as quickly as you can and get that pot of gold off the top of that mountain and bring it back to me. I'd be the man for that job. I can do that all day long. But if you said to me, Stevie, there's a pot of gold inside that computer, and I need you to type loads of letters and loads of buttons and loads of code, and you finally get that pot of gold out of that computer, I'd say, Matthew, you can keep that computer yourself. You know what I mean? So the thing is, there's horses for courses, right? And it's very important to know what horses for what course. So disc profile is a very useful thing, which is called personality profiling. And I'll tell you, is this person is a good manager, if they're a good technician, if they're a better entrepreneur, or what they might be better at. Also, that person should be able to tell you that as well too. So whenever you get all these tasks to do, really the question is, who is going to do them? And that's where it comes across down to your team. Now, you could be a solo entrepreneur and you think, well, I don't really have anybody working for me. But you can still have a team. You can still have a guy that does your website stuff. Do you know what I mean? You can still have a girl that does your marketing type stuff. You can still have somebody who takes calls for you and so on and so forth. You may have an accountant and different types of things in your team. But team is the fourth lever. Now, how our team operates and how our team to our people in charge operating back and forward is then based on our fifth lever, which is culture. And I always say this, culture is key. If you want to expand your business, Don't just think of who's going to help you to expand your business. Don't just think about the numbers and the money and the amount of marketing you're going to do. Really start with your culture. Your culture is your foundational core, is your culture. Your culture within your team, how everybody operates with each other. And a lot of times, in a lot of the things that I've been involved in the past where I wasn't in charge, the culture is often left to just fluke. And you can be even in an organization where culture is left to fluke. And if culture is left to fluke, it usually gravitates towards the most negative people in the organization. They usually set the culture if you haven't already set the culture. So if you're a business owner sitting out there and you're wondering why you're struggling with certain things, things aren't getting done and blah, 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 it's more than likely your culture above everything else. And when you look at that, it is absolutely key. So I'm going to give you a few vital things within that. I would have three guiding principles that I created myself, giving them to a lot of different people, a lot of different business owners, a lot of different companies, operating from 0 to 250 to 0 to 50 million and everything in between. And the first one is be in front. Be in front. That means, have a plan, be in front, be ready, be prepared. The second one is sense of urgency. If you're doing something, do it with a sense of urgency. Get it done, do it quick, move on, get it done. And think about it, if you plan something, you plan it really well, you put time and effort into it, and you planned it really, really well, you want to go for it to go right, you want to get it activated. There's no point in having a plan and sitting there and not happening with it. It's a waste of time doing that. Plus, you don't want to be jumping right into the sense of urgency without a plan, because then you're going to make too many mistakes. But a lot of times people will have the plan, they'll have it down, they spend a lot of time on it, they'll have a sense of urgency, but they won't do the third thing. And the third thing is key. The third thing ensures that the first two goes okay. And it also stops you making major mistakes in everything that you do. And I've said to people, always, you can use it in Irish if you want, a he and a do at three, or you can say check once, check twice, check three times. I've often said to people in the past, did you check that? And said, yeah, I did check that. I said, did you check it twice? Oh, yeah, I did. I said, you didn't check it three times, did you? No, I didn't. I said, that's right, because I can see the mistakes here. And that slows the whole thing down, because now you have to check people on why didn't you use the third rule? Why? So I said, be in front, have a sense of urgency, check once, check twice, and check three times. Absolutely vital. If everybody does that, life is far, far, far easier. We also would use a book called The Four Agreements. It's actually a book that my mother gave to me. So she did after I'd finished running around Ireland. It's called The Four Agreements. And there's four very, very simple lessons on it. And I use this with all the companies that I work with. I use it with all the people that I work with. When they implement themselves, it's a different story. I've used it with everybody all the time. I use it in my family life. I use it everywhere all the time. Because I find when you get something good that works, it doesn't have to be complex. If you stick with it, you're flying, right? So the four agreements is the first thing. And imagine this in a family scenario. Imagine this in a business scenario. And imagine this in a football team scenario. Imagine this in any scenario where there's a team. And everybody agrees and understands these four agreements. And the first one is be impeccable with your word. Be impeccable with your word. Well, that means if you say something that you're going to do, that you go ahead and that you do it. If you said you're going to show up at a certain time, is it you show up at that time? Is it I don't need to sign that bit of paper, and I don't need to tell you it again, and I don't need to text it to you, and I don't need to email it to you, because I already said to you, that's what I'm going to do. So therefore, that's what I'm going to do. And the amount of time that saves is phenomenal. So you can imagine that amount of time that would save, like, I mean, it just makes a huge, huge, huge difference. The second one is really powerful and saves an awful lot of rows or fights or arguments, depending on what part of the country you're from. We're from around Katy, Ballymena, Down area, so rows is quite commonly known here. So it is don't take things personally. Don't take things personally. You can imagine many times that people take things personally, or you say something, you're only into mid-sentence, and somebody jumps down your throat and says, well, I didn't do that. And you weren't even talking about them. You can imagine all those different times where people have taken things personally, when people are not passing the football to each other, or a sliotar to each other, or a piece of paper to each other. They should be passing to each other because they've took something personally that happened maybe 6 months ago, or yesterday, or 2 days ago, or whatever that be. And they mightn't even have thought that through, and they probably have never even discussed that with another person. And you've got people taking things personally all over this. So you get two workers, one here taking things personally and one here taking something personally, and now they're clashing off each other, or they're not even working with each other, and they're making that business less efficient. Do not tolerate that shit in your business or in your life. Don't take things personally, and teach other people how not to take things personally, and it makes it easier. The first step to that, I would say to you, if you are a person that takes things personally too much, or you are oversensitive, is like me. Admit that you're sensitive. I would always admit that I'm sensitive. I admit that I'm sensitive, and then I don't really feel as sensitive anymore, because we're all going through life and different things have happened. I've got different reactions, different things. So don't take things personally. There's a book now on this, The Four Agreements, which people can buy. The other one, the third one, is do not make assumptions. Do not make assumptions. How many times do we assume? And as Tony Robbins taught me, he says, whenever you're assuming, you're being an assumer. You're assuming. You're being an assumer. You see? So don't assume things. Again, people make assumptions and stuff to think, oh, that thing was done, that happened over there, this happened or didn't happen, or this didn't happen. And what they do is they make assumptions rather than checking the facts. So it brings you right back to the first three: check once, check twice, check three times, and don't make assumptions. And then the fourth one, if we all just got up every morning and we said this, regardless of what's happened today, regardless of what's going on in our life, regardless of the weather, regardless of what I ate yesterday, and today I am going to do my best. Today I am going to give it my absolute best. And that's what I would put in. Now, there's a few other things that we put in there into culture when we've got people in sales and that. We get them to use how to influence and influence people. There's lots of other things. But that would be the number one core thing that I would say to people that's vitally important within culture. When I joined Curves back in 2003, we bought our first franchise off Gary Haven. And at that time, there was 5,000 Curves globally. There was actually one curve for every 4 McDonald's at that time globally. Only we were teaching something better, teaching people to get healthy and fit. And the culture that Gary Haven set was incredible. It was such an incredible culture. So it was because it was about being part of a global organization. There was actually a movement that was helping ladies to be fitter and healthier in their life, if you know what I mean. So whenever you can bring your mission right into your culture, it makes such a huge difference. And that business actually scaled up to 10,000 locations globally. And we were lucky enough to win international franchisee business. The first one ever given out of those 10,000 clubs globally, for the implementing of the stuff that we implement. So then you have culture. So then the next one that you have after that is a very important one that a lot of people don't like to talk about. They like to talk about when it's going well, don't really like to talk about when it's not going so well, and that is the lever of finance. Lever of finance can be quite a complex one for people, because people are used to having money and having their own money early on in business, and they spend what they spend and different things. If you do that in business, you're in trouble. You got to keep some money for that tax man. You got to keep money to replenish those goods. You got to keep money to replace that table or laptop or a computer or a car. All these different types of things that have to be done. And like, just telling you straight up and telling your audience straight up is the best system that I have found is a system called Profit First. There's a book written called Profit First, and it is magic system. It's brilliant. Because with the system of Profit First, you split your money into different pots. And in splitting your money into different pots, you've got better control on that money. And also, hence the book, it's called Profit First. So I see a lot of business owners, because obviously I'm teaching and sharing with a lot of business owners to helping them how to make more profits, and helping them how to free up more time in their business, believe it or not, as well too, and helping them to run their businesses more efficiently. And that's something they'd be doing all the time. And oftentimes they'd be in rooms, business owners from anywhere from maybe 10 to 100 to 1,000 different business owners in that room. And I always ask the question, I would say, hands up, how many people in here know how much profit they made last month? And invariably, there's a very small amount of people that put their hand up. But then I say, well, why would you be in business anyway? And they tell me that they're in business to make more money. And that's what happens, is business owners do go into business to make more money. And then what happens is they can lose track of the numbers, because the numbers aren't so easy tracked as they are in your pockets. or your straightforward bank account as they are in the business. So it's very, very important that you have a system. Just like for each and every one of those pillars, the 7 pillars, it's very important that there's a system for each and every one of those. Once that system's decided, the system should run itself in business, because there's 2 different types of business, really. There's business where you're in the business and everything has to go through you in the business, and the busier the business gets, the busier you get. So that's a business where you're solely working in the business. What my business is I teach people how to work on the business. So I teach them then after is that the business they got should have the circle, and they own the business, they have the business, and the business is a system that works and operates on its own terms, really. Do you know what I mean? With not having to be intermittent in it every single day, every single moment, because that can be difficult to do. That actually, I only realized years later, because my main key thing was teaching people how to access the energy for their life, so they could pour the energy into whatever area they want to do, and how to free up that energy within yourself. That was really my core thing, you know. But I found that a lot of business people came to me, and I found a lot of business people would be getting stuck. And I was thinking, ways of energy keep on getting stuck. And then I realized that you know, that they weren't so sure in the system. Whereas I was really lucky, because the way it happened for me was I was forced to set up a system in the first business that I had, because it was for ladies health and fitness. And the president of the company said to me, Stevie, how are you going to put a tape around, he just said that, like, how are you going to put a tape around ladies' ass? That's what he said to me. How are you going to tape around ladies' ass? Because I was 25 and I never thought of that, because I loved being in the gyms and I loved exercise, and I thought, I'm going to come home and I'm going to do this in Uri and I'm going to have these ladies to get fit and stuff. And I kind of forgot that I was a man for some reason. I don't know why. But he said this to me and I said, oh, right enough. So I never did that. But Catherine and the rest of the girls, we had 65 people working for us, you know. And like, there was loads of ladies' asses measured, but I never measured any of the ladies' asses. But the reason is because I was a man, and then that forced me to build a system. It forced me to put together a report card, so I could understand everything that was going on within these businesses in these gyms. Because of these 13 gyms, these 65 ladies working for me, and the slogan and the logo of the gyms was "No men, no mirrors, and no makeup." So I would, if I walked into the gym, I would turn my face to the wall and walk around the wall, facing the wall, because I didn't want any ladies getting offended or anything by a man being in this gym. So it forced me to put together a system. And then it wasn't years later that I actually took that system back out again and started using it for business owners, because I realized, gosh, they actually don't have the system, which I was surprised at, because I thought, well, how could I just make up this myself? But it turned out that that they did need it, and it worked really well. So sometimes the person's frustration, upset, is not just about how they feel, is not just about that there's something going on. Sometimes there's a piece of information, a piece of education that you don't understand, something you didn't understand to put in place. And when you put that in place, everything would work perfectly well. So I always encourage business owners, and you, if you're listening to this here, is to implement profit first. Get the book Profit First and implement that system. We would have videos and stuff in our system for life anyway, if anybody's in our stuff, they're listening there. And then you will know every month how much profit that you've made. The seventh lever. The seventh lever is the lever of research and development, which we're kind of doing here now with Bandido. We're doing the research and development, this giving you good information, this type of content. You know what I mean? People pay for this online, search for it for ages. I just like to get direct and go right to it. So if you listen to this over, you'd be able to implement these things in your business and it will do better. So the seventh lever is the lever of research and development. If you love your business and love what you do, you'll automatically be doing that. You'll automatically be looking up things about it. You know what I mean? You'll automatically be improving it. So on the side of development, what I would say is take the first 6 levers and score them. So score your marketing out of 10. Is it 2 or 5? Is it 7 or is it 8? Score your sales. Score your operations stroke delivery. Write that out too. Score your team. Performance of your team. Who's in your team? Who else do you need in your team? Sometimes in your team, you could have, I remember I had one girl that was brilliant for us and made me a lot of money. And I remember there was other girls who had the same training and actually cost me money. And the difference was just the girl. The difference was just that girl was just, you know, a good performer. So just check performance and team and make sure everybody's okay, things like that there. Um, Culture, score your culture, again, 0 to 10, what will improve it? Score your finance, 0 to 10, again, what will improve it? As long as you're scoring, you're going to move the thing along. And that's development. Kaizen, never ending improvement. Research is finding out cutting edge stuff, well, that's going to work better. Always research before you go and implement something, and always check once, check twice, check 3 times. Now, for the structure of business, you've got those 7 levers, let's say, 6 that you got to score, the 7 levers. And the first thing that you would do if you're starting out, or if you're already in business now, what you do is you brainstorm on each of them levers. So you do a brain dump and you say, right, okay, what's everything we could do in marketing? What's everything we need to do in sales? What's everything we need to do in operation structure delivery? What's everything we could do with a team if we had exactly the way we wanted to be? Who would we hire? What would we do in culture? What would be the perfect culture for us that would work really well for us? You know what I mean? Maybe somebody's in the morning be like, yes, 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 we're going to do this. We'd have salespeople that would do that, because oftentimes if you're making phone calls, you could get 20 and you could get no calls. I'd say, don't worry about that. Celebrate making the phone call. Don't celebrate the connect. Celebrate making the phone call. Yes, 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 yes. Number 20, you get the sale. Score each and every one of those pillars right across the finance, and then do a brain dump, everything that you could do. And that brain dump should be done every quarter. You should do a brain dump. So every 90 days. So even if you had your phone now, you could take your phone out and you could say, okay, you know, the second week of January, we're going to do our first 90 days. Then you would schedule it again 90 days later, schedule it again 90 days later, schedule it again 90 days later. And if you're serious about that, schedule it for 5 years. 3 at a minimum. Jeff Bezos was stopped in the corner. He's the guy that owns Amazon, isn't it?
Yes.
And he was stopped in the corner and he was asked, he said, you know, you had a really good month or a really good quarter this quarter, Jeff. And he says, you know, funny, we weren't even thinking about that because we just had a meeting on 3.5 years away from now. So you see, the more you are in front, the more you're prepped in front, the easier it is, you see, because you can predict, you can dictate and predict the market. Same in marketing. I always say to people, you want 5 to 7 different ways of your marketing at the one time. Then it feels as if you're everywhere, you know. It's like doing marketing launch. But you set your 90 days from now for the next 5 years if you're serious about your business. And you would let all the people know who you want to be involved in those meetings. If you have your senior people involved in those meetings, you tell them in them meetings so they don't book holidays in them meetings. So everybody's there when you do the brainstorm. You do the brainstorm as a business owner, entrepreneur, yourself, and then you get your team to do it. And then what we do is we go through everything that could be done within the next 30 days. Then everything can be done within the next 60 days. Then everything can be done within the next 90 days. And then you put that down, you mark them actions down, and then you get really busy on implementing them actions. And then obviously you have your report, weekly report, because you want to know your performance report every weekly, which turns into your monthly report. And you have your reports on that, and then you do it again the next 90 days, and the next 90 days, and the next 90 days. So you're working on what's in that 90-day block. If you're doing that and you're scoring performance and you're checking it and you're using them first top principles, be in front, sense of urgency, check once, check twice, check 3 times, that's it. It's not any more complicated than that. I've given you the structure for the finance, which is in profit first. I could read it out to you. You know, to go into more detail and market, into more detail and sales. You can find all that stuff there. It's pretty easy. We give more detail than what you're to do. But basically from that, you've got your core structure of any business, any company. The interesting thing is that small to medium sized businesses, small to medium sized businesses don't often do this because they're not taught to do this. But if you go to MBA school, you go to business school, this is what you do. This is how you do it. And I just happened to figure this out myself because it just happened to be able to do it. And then I realized that this is exactly what they do in corporate. So it comes right across. So if you want your company to be bigger, if you want to scale your business and scale your company, it's going to be about your culture, and it's going to be about who you bring in. Right? So it's going to be about who and your culture. That's the key. People don't spend enough time, I feel, sieving through who they're going to work with. You know what I mean? It's really important who you're going to work with because the synergy and the energy is absolutely key. It's vital. So it is, you know, and what they're going to do. Do you know what I mean? And what you want to do, and what you really love doing, and what you're strong at doing. You know what I mean? Oftentimes, you see some even in simple terms, somebody will take somebody who's good in sales, and then they make them a sales manager, and it doesn't work. because they were good at sales, not good. Eric Cantona, I don't know if your audience remember Eric Cantona, but he was a really good striker, but he had been a shit manager because he was too hot headed. You know what I mean? Like, so there's horses for courses again. And knowing them horses is really, really important, lining up them horses. But virtually, really, what you're doing in the business is you're taking more people or in a team. You're taking more people, which should be more energy, and you're making that energy congruent, like work together, almost like a song. And that energy congruent and working together well, like a song, should create more energy. Do you know what I mean? And that would really be it in the quantum physics level. So, with business, there's not really much more to say. I don't think. You could actually take that what I said there now, and you could win just with that, So even if you're there in business now and you say to yourself, "Oh, well, it's been so long, it's been so complex," just write down the levers and score them. It doesn't matter if your marketing's 2 out of 10. What would make it a 3? What would make it a 5? Doesn't matter if your sales is 1 out of 10. What would make it a 10? Like, what else would work? How to influence and influence people would definitely help. Come from a place of service would definitely help. I like to use the analogy of potatoes because it's very simple and people understand potatoes here. And like, I would say to somebody like, everybody's always looking for the results. I'm looking out into the field and people are always looking for better results. And I would say, if you can't like me get out into that field there now and saying, where the fuck's my potatoes? And like, it'd be the height of madness, like, because I didn't plant any potatoes in that field, like, you know what I mean? Well, I might find an old one that fired into it years ago, and you might find a few potatoes in it, but I'm not going to find very many potatoes in that field because I didn't plant any. So stop trying to dig up the ground and find these potatoes you didn't plant. Just focus on planting potatoes now. Focus on planting as you're going around. Plant one and plant another one and plant another one, plant another one. Focus on planting, and if you focus on planting, then you'll have loads of potatoes. They'll grow.
Very good indeed. That is super comprehensive. I love that. That is a very detailed breakdown going through all 7 levers, and then we had other wee bits in there as well. And I think that's super comprehensive. I would encourage everybody to go back down through everything that you've said because there's a whole bunch of golden nuggets, really valuable insights for anyone who wants to understand the fundamentals of business. That's super, Stevie. But there was something you said that I actually find very interesting in particular. And you said that this type of information is taught at business school. And you've just said that you weren't at business school and you were able to figure this stuff out on your own. So what I'm fascinated to know is, what is it about your existence, about your own life, about the trajectory in your own life that you were able to actually come to these conclusions without actually going to a state-funded institution to learn them? What is it about your own existence that you've been able to come to these conclusions, Stevie?
And if anybody wants any more detail in those things, I can share more detail in them as we go, through. But Bandido here himself, Matthew, anyway, if they want more detail, there's no issue if we want more detail on that. For me, I suppose, the first thing when you said that, I thought to myself was must do. Must do is a great master, if you know what I mean. Like, must do is a great master. So I think must do. Well, the first thing for me was I didn't actually realise it because I was a painter and decorator by trade. And I painted up the first gym and got it ready and everything. And I was coaching Catherine, she was on the phone. And we had went out to Texas and we had learned sales and marketing. We learned the stuff to get curves running and things like that there. Now, we didn't learn the full levers of business out or anything, but we learned that. And I can remember being upstairs and Catherine saying, it's great to be at curves and talking to people on the phone. And I was critiquing her. So I was making sure that every word was said 10 out of 10, if you know what I mean. And perfect. And I don't know if that came from the early days in painting where the guys worked for the Smiths, made sure that everything was done properly. If you were doing a job, you would do it right. You'd make sure you'd done it properly. But it's also driven by the mission, you see. For me, was really the mission was like, because when I got the idea to open up a ladies only gym, the first thing I thought of was my aunties. I had including my mother's 7 aunties on one side, with 14 aunties on one side on my mother's side. And I can remember thinking to myself, gosh, there wasn't really much for middle-aged women back in Ireland that time. This is back in 2002. And I can remember, how good I felt from doing exercise. And the importance then it was to be able to convey a message really well, so people knew that you were genuinely there for them to help them, and that it was an open place where they could come and be supported with their dreams and their goals in their life, if you know what I mean. Like, so it was really really a passion for wanting people to do better. Makes you a little bit more of a perfectionist sometimes. Like, if you look at me, some things you'd say I'm a perfectionist, and other things you'd say, Jesus, listen, he's an awful rough man, that man, you know. But it just depends. It depends on what the driver is behind it. It really depends on the way behind that. And so for me, I was in the position where I had to do that. I had to look at it and, you know, and ensure that the success of this for everybody and the people who were there and working. And then later on, when I was helping people to free up their energy and achieve their dreams and their goals, I looked at it and I went like, gosh, you know, these guys actually don't know the system for business here. It's actually a necessity, because the stress levels that people experience with stress, really a deeper level. Stress is a fancy word for a business owner, entrepreneur, saying fear or being afraid. But people don't really use the word afraid or fear. And what are you really afraid of? The unknown, afraid of losing it all, afraid of it not working out, afraid of being embarrassed, afraid of so many things that can happen when you put yourself out there into the public and the limelight, if you know what I mean. So that stress and that fear of the unknown, not knowing, can make the difference. So the care and the duty to ensure that people know that, and they can do a better job and they can survive, because it's your dream that you're looking to create. It's not your nightmare. And if the structures aren't in place, it's a frigging nightmare. And like, you can talk to a lot of people out there in business, and it's as if they're living a nightmare. And there's no need to be living that nightmare. It's just a bit of understanding with the structure. So it is, you know what I mean? So really, necessity and cure. I'd always say, like, you know, I'll always do a better job at anything and everything when I care about it or love it. If you really love something, if you think about it, like, one of the principles in Think and Rich by Napoleon Hill is persistence. You know, if you persist in something, if you persist and you persist and you persist, you're eventually going to get there. There's a story about a donkey coming out of a well. I can tell you it if you want. But if you persist, you'll get there. But you won't persist unless you love it. If you really, really love something, like, really love it. And love is like passion, and passion is like love and hate. You know what I mean? We love this good thing to happen, but you hate this. You hate people being taken advantage of. You hate people being stressed out and being afraid because they don't need to be, but you love when people win and they get it right. Do you know what I mean? And that's really where it lies. When you love something, or you love an idea, or you love to help, or you love it for it to be better for the person, or you hate to see them in pain, that's when that's I think I have learned and found out so many things in my life that I didn't know, and shouldn't know, but did know and became to know, just because I was passionate about it, if you know what I mean. Because I was tired of people getting hurt, or um you know, not winning, or whatever it be, just because you love. And that love is a highest frequency vibration. In quantum physics, unconditional love is a highest frequency. People give a rose, and rose is said to be 500 megahertz in energy. People give a rose, but a rose is actually the 500 megahertz in frequency and energy. Everything can be measured in frequency and energy. And love is a highest vibration, if you know what I mean. Like passion, love, really care. Do you know what I mean? I think that's would be it. Yeah.
Very good. Super.
Mm.
And Stevie, just as we draw our little episode to a close, let's say someone is watching and listening our particular episode, and they've listened to you outline in great detail the 7 levers, and talk about your own experience and how you've essentially come to the conclusions that you've came to. And let's say they are feeling passionate about a particular project that they want to get off the ground. But you had actually touched on this idea of fear, and maybe fear of the unknown, fear of embarrassment, fear of failure. So let's say someone is motivated. They want to get this project off the ground. Maybe the project is already off the ground and they want to take it through the gears, through the levels. But they're feeling a little bit held back by, let's call it the fear of failure, the fear of expectation, and maybe that it may not work out. What could we say? What could you say to those people who want to do it, but they feel a little held back by their own inner fear?
Yeah, I would do out the levers. I would do the plan out on the levers, and I would do my calculations because when you do your calculations, it brings you over the fear if you can see that it works. Like for me in my first business, I can remember calculating like the key thing in business that I feel getting into business at the start is calculating your break even figure. So if you can calculate your break even figure, it'll give you a bit of peace of mind. You know, as I can remember, we done ours at the start, like how many members it was that a break even figure was. So I would calculate that, and then I said to myself, right, okay, what do I need? What do I need to be able to do this? Well, obviously, you need to break even, but what do I need to be able to do this? As in, like, what I mean, what would I need to eat or whatever it is, what I mean, I would need a couple of £1,000, or what would I need for it to work? And then I would say, well, I would need this, and then I would know the numbers, and then I would say, well, what do I want? So I'd have those three numbers and the break even figure with the business, and then we'll have what I would need in order to do this, and then we'll have what I will want. Do you know what I mean? What do I want? That would be the key. So I'd calculate them figures, and then I would do a line on the market, and I would say, right, okay, so what would be the different ways? What would be the 5 to 7 different ways of doing the marketing here? And a mistake sometimes people do in the marketing is they try one thing, and then they try another thing, and then they try another thing, and it's freaking a year's gone by, and they've only tried 7 things, like Whereas I would be doing it in one go. I'd be saying, okay, I'm starting this business. I'm going to start in 8 weeks, okay, and start this business in 8 weeks, and I'm going to put everything together. I'm going to do a launch, so I'm going to hit it. So I'm going to hit these 5 to 7 things in marketing, so you feel as if it's everywhere. So you like feel as if it's everywhere straight away, and then that's going to give me the best possible chance. Because if I can't do it fast, I'm not going to be able to do it slow. It's like sometimes people think, oh no, we'll wait the now, you wait the now, you're waiting now. Like I said, often, like, and I'm not bragging, but I said to people, they said like, you know, in the last 3 months of the gyms, they opened up 5 gyms. It's 5 gyms, five sets of this, 5 sets of that, 5 sets of this, 5 sets of that. But you think we couldn't have done that at the start. But how could you do that at the end? Because it becomes the same thing. It's like I'm a painter and decorator by trade. That's what I am from I was 14 till I was 24. And like, if you wake me up in the middle of the night and ask me to paint the ceiling, I can still do it. I won't want to do it, but I know how to paint. I'm not going to forget how to paint, if you know what I mean. I've done that much of it. You say if you do over 10,000 hours or something, you're an expert. So I'd be an expert at that there. You know what I mean? So it's become the same thing. Your job then is okay. Well, you're not focused on paint and paintbrush. You're focused on these are your skills. These are what you've got to be good at, and the things that you've got to be good at as a business owner, entrepreneur, are different things than what you have to be good at as the technician within the business. If you know what I mean. And a lot of times this is where people make that mistake. So they think to themselves, okay, with some of the guys they would run the best. Like say maybe you start out as a joiner, and a fairly decent joiner. But somebody else might be a better joiner, and that person goes to be a better joiner, and they're making better cabinets, or they're maybe putting on doors better. Yeah, but they're only going to get paid maybe an extra £10 an hour. They're not going to get loads and loads more. But the guy here is a decent joiner. He's them 6 of well, it's really about getting the work done. So if I got 3 or 4 more joiners, let them do that work, and I'll find the work. You know what I mean? So really in business, it's about winning the work and getting the work done. You're the in-between bit. The more you try to do the work, like in what I do, like I would do the work and do the delivery, and a lot of stuff that I do is because it's me and my name on that thing is. But true business, you have all people in the middle of that doing that work for you, if you know what I mean. So you have a restaurant run, and you're not trying to wash the dishes and do everything yourself, because you realize you can't do everything yourself. And a lot of times people's trip up can be, it's good to be a good worker, hard worker. It's good worker, hard worker myself. It's good to be a good worker like that there. Really, really good, really important. But some people do better when they're not. Some people could be better if they were a wee bit lazier, because it really, should we let them do that job? Do you know what I mean? And we'll let this person do that job. So it's finding that in its easiest, simplest way is, if you can do something good, or you can get people to do something good, and you're good at organizing, then it's really just saying to somebody, you know what, I could do a really good job. We could do a really good job of that. And then turn around and saying, this guy here, this guy here is actually could do as good a job as me at. So, and he doesn't want to be in business, so I'll let him do it and I'll pay him. You know what I mean? And then I'll get some more people like that. And does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Matthew?
no, I think that's the thing. What you're saying is, Stevie,
Yeah,
if they are a little, let's just say, burdened by maybe the fear of things not working out, essentially what you're saying is, as I understand it, educate yourself on your own business, get knowledge, get new information into the system, do the numbers out, have a look
yeah,
at the marketing, and when you bring in that new information and you work down through these things
yeah,
systematically, then
Yeah,
all of a sudden the fear can just start to quieten down a little bit
it's
because you're
precise.
actually seeing you're working through the process.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is focus. As I said, is the same as potatoes earlier on. So like focus on serving, focus on serving, focus on providing, focus on giving. Don't focus on set profit first into your business, and that's the system. And then really focus on providing and serving really well. If you're focusing on providing and serving really well, it works well. As I can remember when I came back from running, I was running for 2 years, ran 100 bars, 100 days, and then ran the whole way around Ireland. And I was kind of like going, well, what to do? I was waiting for guidance, and I didn't want to just jump right back into what I was doing because I was like very much wanting to just follow the guidance of what I was getting, spiritual guidance of what I was getting, which comes through other people. So it does, by the way. So a good friend of mine who we had run masterminds before, he says, Stevie, why don't you start masterminds again on the phone? And I goes, well, that's spirit talking through him. I'm going to start masterminds again. So start masterminds again. And then says to me, okay, you go to your phone. You know, what you do is help people anyway. So it's about help people. So I opened up my phone and I went to the names of my phone and I went like this here and I would stop at a name. No, and I go, stop at a name. And the question I ask myself is, do you see this name of this person? Can I serve that person? Can I help that person? If I was helping that person, would their life be better? Would they achieve their goal quicker? Would they do better in that business faster? Would they win easier? And I literally just went, yeah, I could help him. And I phoned him and go, well, John, how's it going? It's just going through my phone, and your name came up, and you know what I mean. I know that I can help you. I know that I can help you do better. Do you want to meet? Do you want to meet up? And then John go, yeah, let's meet up. And then I go, right, okay, what's the goal? Let me help you better. Boom, boom, boom. And then we'd be in business together.
Perfect. I think that's great, Stevie, because what you've actually done is you have brought the discussion full circle. Because at the beginning you said, whenever it comes to, I had said initially, the Bandido isn't a businessman. But as you quite rightfully said, what is business? You're trying to serve other people. You're trying to be of value to other people.
Yep.
And sometimes we don't want to lose why we're actually doing the thing. We're trying to be valuable. We're trying to serve. And yes, the numbers and everything you have talked about is incredibly important, the structure and the system. But then the way you've just brought it back around again is perfect, because remember, what are we trying to do in business? We are trying to serve other people. And I love that.
Exactly.
I love how you've just brought the whole thing full circle. Really, really good, Stevie. I love that. Now, for our folks who are watching and listening, if people want to get in touch with you, Stevie, now around the video, around our episode, I'm going to have all your links where people can find you, both your physical location, your address of the business, and whatever links, your website, your social media platforms. But just to give a quick summary, Stevie, if people want to get in touch, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. If they go to steveyj.com, that's steveyj.com, they'll see email there. They're even there too. Is Catherine even speaks to a few people every week on a call to see how they can help them in any way. We're also running a retreat, I believe, in April, and we're actually starting business evenings for business owners in March, I think it is. It's probably not up on the website yet, but if they go to the website steveyj.com, they'll see everything. See everything there. You can send us an email or whatever it is, or they want to get in touch. They can have a conversation with Catherine and see if what we do works for them.
Yes.
So it's like, yeah. So it's really good. Like phenomenal results. So yeah.
Yes, I've been on your website, Stevie, and I think it would be very useful for people to go on and actually go down through the website, because there are a whole bunch of testimonials from people. There is such a diversity of fields, really.
Yeah.
And I think it's very useful for people to go to your website. I'll have it linked here in the description and also around the video as well. So people will be able to find that very easily. But I would encourage people to go check out the website, look at everything that you have on offer there, but also check out those testimonials, because it's a really, really good read. But anyway, really good, Stevie. Is there anything else you would like to add just before we close our episode?
Yeah, I'm just saying, in anything that anybody would be doing, listening to this, and any goal or endeavor or any achievement or whatever would be doing this, like I said, is like my thing was always freeing up the energy. It was even when like I ran around Ireland, it was like for people that said to me, I'd say, well, like, I freed up the energy so I could run 40 miles every day, and sometimes people don't really understand what they mean by that freeing up the energy, and so I just like to explain that a little bit. So it really means just letting go of your energy. If your energy's tied up in any grievances or anything that anybody annoyed you or pissed you off in the past, or anything that you need to forgive or things like that, there is that you just let it go. There's a new day, a new dawn every day. The sun shines again to remind us, and it's not going to be that long till there's going to be a new year. And the new year, we sing old lang syne, which means to let go of the any feelings of the past that have been holding you back, and let that go, and to know that there's a new day and there's a new dawn, and that you can direct your energy towards anything that you want to direct your energy towards, and whatever you direct your energy towards, will grow. So it's always best to think about these things, these goals and dreams and things that you'd love to do in your life, in the absolute best light. Always think about those in the best light, and to let go of anything that could be disturbing or getting your way from that. So, there may be some TV films or movies, or there may be some old hurts or pains in the past, or there may be something that you're listening to that's holding you back and preventing you. There may be an idea of the world that other people are projecting to you, that might be feeling heavy. But just let go of all that there, clear the slate, and decide that you're going to give your energy to things that you want to grow, and only begin to give your energy to things that you want to grow now, and you'll find that everything's just easier.
Yes. Super. That's a perfect note to finish on, Stevie. I really want to thank you for your time, your attention, all of your expertise. Everything that you have delivered in this particular episode has been super valuable. I would encourage people to go back down through, rewatch the episode. You gave a whole bunch of golden nuggets, super valuable information. And of course, I would encourage people to check out your website as well. That will be linked to the video. Super, Stevie. Thank you once again for coming on to Bandido Talks. We really appreciate it. And of course, we will be in touch going forward, sir. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll be in touch soon.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, sir.
Perfect.
Just
Have a good one,
man.
Stevie.
All the way,
See you
top
later,
brother.
sir.
All the way.